Yeah, I think from the opening whistle we were knocking on the door. We had some very good counters. You know, we were maybe just off with the final pass, or maybe we should have passed it somewhere else. But you know, we had the actions in us. The goals were tremendous goals against that goalkeeper too, because I have a tremendous amount of respect for him. I think he is a fantastic goalkeeper. He has done well all season, but those were just really good goals by us in today's game. He's got great distribution, so it helped us, and I think it helped us in a lot of ways. I think, you know, they scored pretty quickly right after. We could have easily lost confidence quickly, especially being away from home. They have made this into a really tough place to play. Their fans are into it. That got their fans into it. But for us to get 2 more goals and then get in and just keep working towards it was big for us, obviously.
And Dembe opened you up to scoring. I think it was his first professional goal, if I have that correct.
Yep.
To have that in this moment to spur you on, what did that mean for him and your club?
Well, I think he deserves it based on the fact that he has, ever since he came back from his second injury in preseason, he has been a man on a mission. And so, right place, right time. He does it in training at times as well. So, great reward for him, but more importantly, the team.
How good was it for Gotti to get that goal too, with everything he's been through, and you know, personally and internationally?
Yeah, I think you know, obviously Gotti has a lot of things on his mind with his home, right, and his family and everything else. And so there was one game that I threw him in sort of right afterwards, and he was a little bit disconnected. And I probably shouldn't have put him into that game on that day, but he had said that he's ready to go. He feels, you know, he's ready to contribute for the team, and I thought he was a force today. He was exactly the person that we needed when we brought him in here to begin with. So today he showed that he's kind of back to himself, which was very important for us.
I know you usually say you don't believe in statement games or things like that, but a team coming in, you know, 3 games in the last 8 days or whatever against a team that's rested on the road, you know, a place you haven't had success. Just how big of a win was it to get that first win in this series?
Well, yeah, I mean, I said this before. I think, you know, we're on such a mission to get back into the playoffs because of, you know, our situation with all of our players out and all those things, that when we got in, it was, you know, such an emotional victory, if you will, as well. And then we had to play 3 days later, and that game against San Jose was a very difficult game from, you know, a lot of perspectives. It was a difficult game, just us getting into it, coming off that emotional high. And we were trying to weather the storm, and we suffered a lot in that game. The fact that then we went through the penalty kick shootout, even more emotions, right? Guys are under pressure. It's just, there's just a lot that gets taken out of you, and the fact that we now got to come here, to your point, we got to play a team that, you know, has had, you know, good rest and hasn't gone through that emotional roller coaster they've been in for quite some time. It was a big performance by our guys, but I also think that the changes that we made were necessary today. They were necessary, and what I'm probably most proud of all of it is that all those guys contributed in such a meaningful way, and I really think that has a lot to do with the fact that a lot of those guys got experience all throughout the season.
Offensively, the team keeps improving, and defensively too. Only 2 goals in the last 2 games. What are the points that you guys touch with the 4 guys in the back so they can actually reach this level?
I think they always had it in them, but I think we've had a lot of consistency with the back 4 now and the goalkeeper, and I think that helps. Same people always playing together. They're working things out in training. They're working things out in games. They're just getting more familiar with each other. I think there's a big part of that. I think the other is that I think that their focus and concentration has risen as games have gone on, and that has been a big help for us.
Junior Russell and Tommy didn't play today. Any reason?
Tommy played the last 20 minutes of the game. Johnny, he has a little bit of a sore leg, and I wanted to be very careful with him. I was going to maybe bring him in late, but since we were in a good position, it helped out so much not to have to bring him into the game.
Any additional questions in the room?
Do you have to say anything like, let's not come back to St. Louis, let's close it out at home, or is that obvious and you just go on with your business?
you got to go on with your business. I think it's that's a very good team we played tonight. There's a reason why they're in first place in the West. When you do it consistently over the course of the season, it means a lot to a team, and they're very good. They have great commitment in the group, and they have some really dangerous players within their team, and so. We got a game coming up, and we have to look at it as it's just the next game, and we got to try to win that game. That's the only way to look at it.
We'll switch over to questions on Zoom. First question will go to Daniel Sperry with the Kansas City Star.
Sam.
Daniel, your line is open.
Hey Peter, congrats on the win. Tonight, first half.
How come you didn't come here?
here?
How come you didn't come here? Everybody else did. You didn't show up live. How about that?
Hey, it's my wife's birthday, and I honored a request to keep the household happy.
Good cover. Good cover.
Yeah, I'll thank my wife for
All
not
right.
being a total.
I have no idea what your question was, so you better start over.
It's okay. Just curious. You guys kind of conceded the possession to them in the first half, but you obviously were killing it on the scoreboard. Was there a specific reason why you guys were willing to kind of let them have the ball a little bit more, or was it just the way the game came out?
I just think the way the game played out.
Next question will go to Sam McDowell with Kansas City Star. Sam, your line is open.
Hey, what's up, Peter? You mentioned just the mental roller coaster, but is there something to the fact that you guys have been in a fight just for the postseason for a while, that you've sort of had this postseason mentality ingrained in your team for, better part of a month or two now?
There's no doubt that we've had to, scratch, scrape, bite, fight, all the things that you can throw out there. We've had to do all those things since May 1st. Because we, obviously everybody knows it's well documented where we were. And so every game that we went into, we've had to get a result. We've had to get points. And so as the season wound down, there was less and less room for mistakes or results. And so the guys have had to find a way to battle time and time again. Does it help? Sure, it helps, but I don't think you can negate, I go back, that first, I think the first 30 minutes against San Jose, I think San Jose was, I'm not going to say that they were just better than us. They were just more fresh than us. And so for us, we had to kind of suffer through that game a little bit. In the last 10, 15 minutes of the first half, we were in it. The second half, I think we were in it much more, and we actually almost won it in regulation late in the game, but and also the start of the second half. But again, it's just an emotional roller coaster, and that takes out as much as I've said this before. Like, I can go up to the guys and ask them, "Hey, how you doing? You feeling good?" And ego takes over at that moment and says, "Oh yeah, I'm good. I feel like I can play. I'm okay. Everything's good." But it's where I have to make some decisions on some guys, and I had to do that this time around. And like I said, I think the good thing is that I think that freshness really ruled the day, in that those guys contributed and said, you know what, they're going to come in and make sure that they play the role that they need to.
Next question will go to Jonathan Siegel with mlssoccer.com. Jonathan, your line is open.
Thanks, guys, and congrats on the big win. Peter, over your experience in this league, what have you identified as some of the characteristics for success in playoffs, and how, if at all, do you see them manifesting in your team this year?
Well, without giving too many things away, I think that the playoffs are they're at times incredibly difficult to navigate, and I say that because some of it can depend on where the form is of your team coming out of the season. Some of it is how you finish the last game of your season. In our situation, some of it could be how was your wild card game. And each one of those poses a different thing. The other is that you also have to take inventory with the team that you have. How many guys have been in the playoffs? How many guys understand what playoffs are? So a lot of times you got foreign players that come in. They've never been through anything like this, so it's completely different for them. And there's this educational process that you go with a bunch of those guys. And then the other is that I think, I know it's cliche in all sports, but it's so easy to lose yourself in the playoffs as well, in that you start thinking too much about too many things. The only thing that you can work with and focus on is really that next game, that next 45 minutes. That's where you got to have everything prepared for, and then you got to have time, and you can make some adjustments and then move on from there.
Next question will go to Chad Smith with the Kansas City Soccer Journal. Chad, your line is open.
Congrats on the win tonight. As you kind of said with Sperry, you played against the ball a little more. You played the ball long at times, and you're not always given credit for changing tactics, including by many of us.
By you, usually. By you. Yeah. That's okay, by you.
Yeah, fair. What went into making those changes tonight?
Well, I say this all the time. I mean, I know that there's people that have a lot of opinion around the fact that I always play a 4-3-3, but what they don't realize is there's a lot of nuance that goes into playing that way, and that depending on different situations and different teams you play against, you have to make adjustments. And so I think where the real credit goes to is the players. Their execution of what needed to be done in the game was actually top notch, and they really paid attention to our game plan, and they were very focused and concentrated for 90 plus minutes. And it's not easy to do that because obviously as each game comes along, there's pressure, but they did an excellent job on that.
Last question for Peter. We'll go to Daniel Sperry. Daniel, your line's back open.
This one just goes to you guys. Were obviously St. Louis could come out in the second half and kind of throw a punch and get back into it, but you guys really seemed to stave them off. Just how did you guys close out that second half? What was kind of the locker room conversation going into it? I
just think the same. I think look, I say it again, they're a team that, man, they can, as they did the last time we played here in 12 minutes, they scored I can't remember, 3-4 goals, whatever the number was, but they have the ability to just hike it up, put the pressure, put the pedal to the floor and go. And so it's a team that can crush you. You also have to take into consideration that Timmy was fantastic tonight. He made some stops where he held on to the ball where he could have bobbled the ball just because of the slickness of the field and the weather conditions. But the team stayed focused and concentrated. I would say that's the biggest thing.